That will lead us to our weekly discussion, which I kind of touched on with my article, and I just realized probably next week I shouldn't do that because I almost like unloaded my entire argument and discussion in my new segment. But we're learning. We're learning. The weekly discussion topic is talking about automation in our careers. We're not really going to be talking about like it completely taken over, but it's something that's big in all our careers, in commercial driving, where Tommy works, and especially where I work because I'm a pilot. So I can start off because I kind of talked about it in the news. Is in my career time, which I retire in 2059, autonomous aircraft are going to be a reality. I think it's a little optimistic to say by 2050, but definitely by 2060. I think the last decade of my career, with my current airline, willing, I think I'm going to see automation. I don't think I'll see a fully automated cockpit, but I may be sitting next to, Jarvis over there. So it's just going to be one of those. I think I'm going to see it in my career, but I don't think it's going to take over quite as quickly. And that is due to a couple things. One is public perception, right? People always make the argument that trains are automated, but also trains are on tracks, right? Trains don't land. Trains don't go left and right. Trains don't go around weather. Trains don't handle emergency situations by themselves, usually, right? So like I said before, that ISOP, or I think that's what the name of the survey company, did a survey back in 2017 worldwide. Majority said people worldwide said they would not fly an airplane that's fully autonomous. And then there was a survey by ALPA in 2018 that said that 81% of the United States populace, or 81% of the survey, said that they would not fly a fully autonomous airplane. So in terms of the aviation and airline field, I think we will see it in our lifetime. However, I think a lot of things like the bureaucratic process, the regulation changes, and the public perception, and also cost too, because you're talking about a reduction of 35 billion, I think is what the article said, 35 billion a year in operating costs because of us pilots. But you also have to think about the new aircraft that they're having to implement. For example, my company has placed in orders with Boeing to block out all other companies from being able to take deliveries of Boeing aircraft, I think until 2027. So, and at the end of this, we're going to have more 737s in our fleet than Southwest. And those are going to be new. So you're telling me that over the span of the next 40 years, we're just going to park all these 737s that we just bought? The ones that require two pilots?
I was going to say, what is the lifespan on a 37?
Well, I can tell you,
what's it supposed to be?
I actually don't know. Well, it's not what it's supposed to be, because there's actual like hard stop like limitations on airframes. But just the other day, I was flying a 700 that was slightly older than I was. It was like it was like 31 years old. Which people got to understand that cars are different than airplanes. Cars are meant to break, so you buy a new car in like a couple years, right? It's obsoletism, just like your iPhone. It's built to only be so new up until the new iPhone 15 Pro Max comes out, and then every update after that is going to make your iPhone 14 turn into crap, basically. So you buy the next one. Whereas airplanes are not the same. Airplanes, as long as you maintain them, you can replace with new parts. They can last a very, very long time. But there's certain like airframe limitations. For example, Embraer 145s that Envoy had, they completely timed out in 2028. That's like 2028. I don't think we're going to see any 145s anymore, at least on the American Eagle side, because that's just when they time out. But going back to the automation thing, it's just it doesn't make sense. I think the biggest thing is going to be cost factors with the airlines. It'll save $35 billion, yeah, but they're going to have to park all their piloted airplanes or wait for regulations that allow retrofitting. So like retrofit a system on the Boeing 737, which guess what? That's going to cost the company money. Is it going to cost the company more than $35 billion to do that? So will it be a reasonable cost to replace a system that's going to cost more than just operating a flight deck with two pilots in it? But I still think we have some hurdles that we have to get over before we actually see fully autonomous commercial airliners.
Yeah.
And what about you, Justin? What do you think in the commercial driving sector? What do you think?
So, in my industry, and for what I do specifically, I do a lot of what we call last mile delivery. It's from warehouse to its final destination, which for us is the grocery store. When it comes to automation and autonomous trucks, I could maybe see the long haul over the road stuff be a little bit more automated leaning.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've seen and as we discussed earlier with the cars that have autopilot, like there's still holes in that technology.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you still have to, as a driver, yeah, okay, my car might be on autopilot, but I still have to be somewhat hands on wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still
Yeah.
have to be paying attention. And even more so for us, when I go to a store, every time I go there, it's different. It's different weather, it's different traffic patterns, different people walking through the parking lot looking at their phone instead of looking up and making sure they're not about to become a hoodlum on a Volvo. All of these variables that, I'm sorry, but a programmer, sitting somewhere isn't going to necessarily be able to write into the script.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question though. What do you think about? Because I just got my new steering wheel set up. Ka-chow. You guys can't see it because I raised the camera. But rather than fully autonomous, what about remote? Do you think that there'll ever be a time where us fake drivers will be sitting at home, sipping my coffee from my desktop setup here, streaming, driving an actual truck around?
I mean, at that point, why not just put you in the cab anyway?
Because I could walk and go use my bathroom right here and also drink my cup of coffee from my spooky mug at home. I
But
mean,
you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. Why not get in the cab? Yeah, I understand that part.
it, and if you're gonna, go automation, like, even like you were talking earlier with the Predator drones and things like that, they're unmanned aerial vehicles. They're not fully autonomous. There's still somebody sitting
Yeah,
somewhere in control of the vehicle.
that's true. Yeah, that is very true. So, what do you think of something like that, like a monitoring type thing? So, where we're sitting, right? And I'm just sitting here watching it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we're gonna hit that Mustang. Let me just take over here for a second, because then you wouldn't necessarily. Then you become a technician versus a professional, like a commercial driver, right? At that point, that you could pay somebody less to sit there and be like,
It-
yeah, let me hit the enter key so we don't do that.
yeah, it would also raise another issue with the infrastructure. Is how is this vehicle operating? Are you operating via, a wireless signal? And I'm sorry, but there are still places where my cell phone craps the bed with service. So imagine an 80,000-pound vehicle, rolling down the highway, and all of a sudden server disconnect. And oh, my ping, why am I lagging? Oh, wait a minute, I just lagged into that minivan. That's
Oops.
not good.
Yeah, that's true. Or like, oh,
It's
I've had it before
huge,
in American
huge
trucks, and then where
roadblocks.
my controller completely disconnects, right, and I go slamming into a Jersey barrier.
Yeah.
You know, so it's yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very very good point. So, would you think? And that you said that, I would think that we may see automation in a commercial airliner before we see like commercial transportation going completely autonomous, just because of the infrastructure is not, because in the sky it's very easy, there's no like roads, right? Even though we have highways in the sky, Victor Airways and
Yeah.
such like that, but it's a lot easier to program because it's free space, right? You're thousands of feet in the air, where you can't do that on the ground.
Right, right. And if there is some sort of connection issue, it can be rectified rather quickly
With autopilot.
with autopilot. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And also, everything up there, it will be at some point will be all autonomous, where here on the ground you're trying to intermix an autonomous vehicle with like civilian population, with people who aren't, so you have that crazy factor. Because I
yeah,
know, especially you, Justin, driving on the road, there's some crazy people out there. There's people out there that probably shouldn't have driver's licenses.
yeah.
So
Can
whereas,
confirm.
yeah, can confirm. Whereas like the airline part, flying wise, everything up there would be fully autonomous.
Yeah,
So that's an interesting thought. We're probably gonna
and
see.
a tree's not gonna, at 30,000 feet. A tree's not gonna jump out in front of you.
It shouldn't. That's interesting to think, though, that we may see a fully autonomous aircraft before we see fully autonomous like semi trucks.
Yeah,
That's wild. Now, Tommy, what are your thoughts on it? Being obviously ambiguous, but in terms of automation in your industry and what you currently do.
So my industry has been doing automation for quite a while.
Hmm.
Justin actually kind of alluded to it in Jargon in a Jiffy last week. We do have pickers that they get programmed, they zip down the aisle, they pick the product, they bring it back. Now there's a spotter that will receive that product off the robotics line and send it to where it needs to go via, 300 miles worth of conveyors in the warehouse. But they've been doing that quite a while. Um, it's more efficient than the machinery, the battery operated machinery
Yeah.
that we
Mhm.
discussed in offline.
Yeah.
But when they go down and when that system faults, there's a problem. They got to get the IT, they got to get the robotics technicians out there, and there's a big delay. So everything that they like, hey, we're picking at a rate of 152 an hour. Oh, yeah,
Not
we're going to be
anymore.
down for 6 hours
Yeah, not
and
anymore.
just shut it down. And we also do remote. In certain parts of this country, a package that's 10 pounds or less,
Hmm.
if you order a certain package
Hmm.
that day, you're getting a cardboard white square that you could put, and they tell you to put it in a clear space on your property. And you will even get a text message if you do sign up for the text message updates to tell you when the drone is going to drop your package off so you can run to the window and watch it. On the West Coast, it's a pilot program, no pun,
No
on
pun.
the West
Yeah,
Coast. But
He's full of the punnies.
he's full of the
as
puns this
full
morning.
as automation in either one of your industries, no, this guy is a hard no.
And that's the thing. It's like I don't know if it's going to be a completely no system or if it's going to be an interface system where the AI or intelligence interacts with the existing system. So for me personally, I would feel safer if there was an interface interacting with the existing setup. Because here's the thing: if we're at cruise altitude and both pilots are become incapacitated, right? The flight is going to fly its pre-programmed route at that altitude, right? We've seen that before with like the Learjet with the Gulf guy that got not hypothermic, hypoxic, right? It flew out towards the northwest over the Dakotas, ran
James
out of fuel.
Stewart's plane, yes.
Yep, and we've also seen the Helios flight, which is the famous one for slow onset depressurization, slow onset hypoxia. They flew until they ran out of fuel. So if something were to go wrong with the interface, I'd rather that it still be able to fly the intended route, not just fall out of the sky type of deal. And so that gives them time to figure out what the heck is going on, right? Or even call make a PA, be like, is there a is there a pilot on board? The classic one, but for the AI type thing. Versus having a completely new system where if one part of the system goes down, you no longer have control of the airplane.
I think even though computers may have a quicker reaction time than a human being, and with all this learning software and this, that, and the other thing, well, a certain very famous gentleman who is big with his automation could be sitting right here right now and plead his case with me for days. We feel that
Who
a
is that? Could you tell
computer,
us who that was? You're
Mr.
leaving me
Musk,
hanging here. Oh, there you go. Okay. I was like, are you gonna who is he talking about?
yeah,
Yeah, and it does vary. And I think the overall of this talk show, I think we're getting the idea that while we may see some automation here in the future, we definitely probably won't see anything fully autonomous, which is understandable with based off perception and safety and from our points of view. So hopefully that helps you understand the general public understand from our point of view why we think automation is either one, not really a good idea necessarily, but also just the actual true timeline versus what other people may
We
say.
had an absolutely wonderful time today. Learned a lot from each other. As always, great discussion topic. I feel like we have another 40 minutes on that discussion, but we're going to save you all from that. And we are going to start cutting everything and head out. So, on behalf of the Torque and Thrust Talk Show, I'm Justin.
I'm Tommy.
And I am Bill, and thank you all for watching. Just as a friendly reminder, though, next week our talk show will be on Wednesday, October 25th, because of my schedule. Same time, same place here on Twitch and YouTube. So October 25th, Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern. You can catch us on our Discord server, 3 Green Simulations Group. We all have links in our TikTok bios. I'm on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok, and Tommy's on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok as well. And Justin is on Twitch and TikTok as well. Different names. One's Wise Ass Trucker, and what's the other one?
Wise_trucker.
There you go. So be sure to check us out there and follow the podcast here on Twitch and YouTube, as well on your favorite podcast app. So Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Podbean. But we will see you next week, and everybody have a great and wonderful day.